Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by the following. IU Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, working to improve cybersecurity and provide policy guidance through partnerships with industry, government, and academia.
Smithville Fiber, the Gigacity Company, fiber internet, HD, and digital IPTV in southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com.
And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk, nearly a quarter of Hoosier adults smoke. Legislators are considering whether stricter laws may be necessary to reduce that rate.
I am living proof that a smoking ban will absolutely ruin you.
In addition to the smoking ban, legislators are also looking at e-cigarettes and whether they should be taxed or regulated like traditional tobacco products. And he's Indiana's first openly LGBT executive official, and he's considered a rising star in the Democratic Party. Ahead, we profile South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg and explain how his decision to come out as gay could influence the debate over the state's civil rights law.
I think communities, individuals, families, businesses, churches have a chance to stand up and say, hey, that picture that you might have got of our state in April, that's not us, and we really are welcoming to all.
Plus, it's been a busy week. We have the latest headlines from across the state right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. An issue that's proven to be divisive before is being taken up again by a legislative study committee. Legislators heard testimony this week on several tobacco-related issues, including whether to expand the state's smoking ban and include e-cigarettes in the law. As Barbara Brosier reports, passionate voices on both sides of the argument testified during the hearing.
It's a largely unregulated market.
They're arguments legislators have heard before.
We're here to talk about a bill that was passed last session and pick it apart and say it's not working here or there. Respectfully, this is not the meeting to do that.
Public health advocates arguing Indiana's smoking ban should be expanded to include bars, casinos, and private clubs.
In Indiana, the annual health care costs due to smoking totaled $2.9 billion, with another $3.1 billion spent in lost productivity.
And bar owners who say the current ban is already hard enough on small businesses.
When there was still smoking and then it went to non-smoking for 1 year, I lost 16.82% in revenue.
Expanding the smoking ban is just one of a long list of measures the study committee is looking into. According to the Indiana State Department of Health, about 23% of Hoosier adults smoke. That's higher than the national average of 18%. Legislators are trying to determine the best way to bring that number down. In addition to the smoking ban, they're considering changes to the way e-cigarettes are regulated and whether they should be taxed like traditional tobacco products. Legislation passed last year imposes bottling and labeling requirements for those who manufacture e-liquids, which are used in the devices. But it does little to regulate the e-cigarettes themselves. Indy e-cigs customer Justin Meyer told us earlier this year e-cigarettes shouldn't be regulated like traditional tobacco products because they aren't.
Seems excessive to me as far as, it's a cessation method, despite what, some people say.
Proposals to include e-cigarettes in the state's smoking ban and impose an excise tax on the products didn't make it through the legislature earlier this year, but the study committee heard testimony on both of those issues. They'll meet again at the end of the month. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Barbara Brosier.
Several cities throughout Indiana have passed their own ordinances that ban smoking in bars and private clubs, but it's unlikely the statewide ban will be expanded. Now for headlines, we go over to Lindsay Wright, who has the latest on this week's top stories.
Thanks, Joe. The National Office of the Alpha Tau Omega fraternity has revoked the charter and closed its chapter at Indiana University after a sexually explicit video involving a member was released on social media. As Barbara Brosier reports, IU says it fully supports that decision.
ATO's national office says its investigation revealed the video was taken at an unauthorized event last week, involving about half of the chapter's membership. It shows a 21-year-old member performing a sex act on a woman while other members watch. The national office says that woman and a second who appears in the video are exotic dancers who were hired by one of the fraternity members. They say no pledges were compelled to participate. Many IU students say they're shocked and appalled by the video.
It was disgusting, and I literally wanted to vomit and cry at the same time.
IU released a statement saying the actions in the video represent a violation of the Student Code of Conduct and will not be tolerated.
It definitely doesn't look good for IU, but it especially doesn't look good for IU's Greek life, which has taken some pretty hard hits in the past as well.
The chapter was previously investigated as recently as 2010, when 100 of its 126 members were kicked out of the fraternity by the National ATO office for hazing and alcohol violations. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Barbara Brozier.
The Bureau of Motor Vehicles says it has the basic outline of reform legislation to fix a maze of red tape identified by an outside audit. The Bureau blames confusing and sometimes conflicting provisions for overcharges and undercharges on 16 different fees. Chief of Staff Peter Lacey says all Hoosiers are now paying the correct fees and says refunds should be complete by year's end. General Counsel Adam Krupp says the agency is working with legislators on a bill to simplify not only the fee structure, but registration options. The State Department of Transportation and the Indiana Republican Party are striking back at continued attacks over the condition of Indiana's roads. As Sophia Salaby reports, the governor and INDOT have been under fire for months because of the closure of I-65, most recently in commercials blaming the governor for lives lost in traffic accidents and inappropriately prioritizing his budget surplus.
INDOT touts its infrastructure, noting that state bridges rated as fair or better increased to more than 95% in the latest round of inspections. The embattled agency also notes that bridge maintenance projects increased 250% in 2014 and 15 from the prior 2 years. Meanwhile, the state's Democratic Party spokesman points to a D+ rating of the state's infrastructure by the American Society of Civil Engineers. New details emerged this week about the state's ongoing investigation into nearly 200 road construction projects. It was uncovered that the asphalt plant Brooks Construction was on probation at the time it was supplying materials to repave a 3-mile stretch of roadway in Cass County. Repairs are estimated at $71 million. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Sophia Salaby.
Well, INDOT is still reviewing an additional 44 contractors across the state. House Republicans are hoping to put recent scandals behind them. A caucus this week selected Representative Matt Lehman as the new majority leader. He replaces Judd McMillan, who resigned from the position last week amid a sex scandal. McMillan had been elected to the position after a leadership shakeup prompted by the departure in 2014 of Eric Turner, who left in the wake of an ethics probe. Lehman is from Berne. He's been a member of the General Assembly for 7 years. Governor Pence is appealing a federal decision denying a request for assistance to help local governments recover from flooding and severe storms this summer. The funds were requested to help pay for an estimated $11 million in damages in 19 counties. The governor said FEMA's decision was arbitrary, erroneous, and inconsistent with the way it treats other states. 10 deaths in June and July were also blamed on the storms. 25 farm-related deaths were reported in Indiana last year. That's an increase from 18 the previous year. But if you take the long view, researchers say you'll notice an overall downward trend in farm-related deaths since the 70s. According to Purdue University's 2014 Indiana Farm Fatality Summary, 16 of the deaths recorded in 2014 involved farm machinery of some kind. Other fatalities were caused by burning brush, barn fires, asphyxiation from smoke inhalation, a head injury from livestock, falling trees, and an accidental drowning. Because of the range of causes, the researchers say it's difficult to come up with prevention strategies other than for tractor-related incidents where protective rollover structures have proven to help. The Indiana University School of Medicine is part of the largest ever research effort on concussions. The U.S. Department of Defense and the NCAA are funding the 3-year, $30 million study. To start, researchers will study 7,200 student athletes from 12 universities, but that number could grow as research progresses, possibly expanding to nearly 37,000 students at 30 different schools. A town east of Indianapolis is witnessing a spate of heroin-related overdoses. As Becca Costello reports, the town of Shelbyville has seen close to 70 heroin overdoses just this year.
None of the heroin overdoses have been fatal, but Shelbyville Police Department Lieutenant Michael Turner says the town is still seeing a spike in the drug's use. He attributes heroin's increasing popularity to recent legislative efforts targeted at other drugs, specifically methamphetamine, but says he thinks heroin is just as big a problem in Shelbyville as it is in any other Indiana community.
It's a problem for all of us, whether it's heroin or methamphetamine, prescription pills, marijuana, it doesn't really matter. It's a direct link to almost probably 90% of our crimes that happen.
Turner says local law enforcement officers are trying to be proactive about the town's drug issue. He says the rapid response times of the local paramedics and fire department, as well as the availability of opioid antidote naloxone, are helping to save lives. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Becca Costello.
The only Indiana state park which bans alcohol will remain alcohol-free. The Alcohol and Tobacco Commission has unanimously rejected a liquor license for developers who want to turn the Indiana Dunes Pavilion building into a conference center and restaurant. The Dunes banned alcohol in 1989 in response to problems with gangs. 7 state park inns have alcohol licenses, but Fort Harrison in Indianapolis is the only one that serves alcohol in its restaurant. The other reserve the permit for wedding receptions and other special events. There are no more tickets available to hear Secretary of State John Kerry speak next week at Indiana University. Kerry is coming to campus Thursday for the opening of the new Global and International Studies building. Kerry is expected to talk about foreign policy priorities and the importance of U.S. leadership abroad. Former Senator Richard Lugar and former Representative Lee Hamilton, who co-chaired the 9/11 Commission and directs the Center on Congress, will join Kerry on stage. Any seats that do become available will be filled by those in a standby line the day of the event. A Greencastle entrepreneur is benefiting from a piece of 10-year-old economic development legislation meant for a Northwest Indiana town. Joe Wren explains how a local brewer was able to get his liquor license despite the county reaching their limit.
The bar will be right there.
Former teacher and home brewer Chris Weeks can't wait to be serving up locally brewed beer and burgers in the former downtown Greencastle Napa building.
I was actually given a Mr. Beer kit over 5 years ago for Christmas by my in-laws, and I made a little batch in a little gallon jug, and I quickly realized that I loved brewing.
He couldn't turn his hobby into a business, though, because Putnam County had used up its limit for alcohol licenses as regulated by the state. But Greencastle Mayor Sue Murray found a piece of legislation that was specifically written in 2005 to help Valparaiso revitalize its downtown square.
The strictness with which they wrote the Valpo law, interestingly enough, also applied to Greencastle. That our downtown is on the National Register of Historic Places, and it has been since the 1980s. And in that district, we have a courthouse, we have a jail, and we have an opera house.
Wasser Brewing Company is the first to be granted one of those 10 additional licenses, and the timing couldn't be better. The blueprints feature a bar, outside seating, and a stage. Weeks says construction begins soon. He plans to open this fall.
Recent dry weather is giving the state's soybean crop a boost. It's welcome news for farmers who were hit hard by an above-average amount of rain this summer. So far, 41% of the state's soybean crop has been harvested, up from 17% at this time a year ago. The USDA says as of October 4th, 80% of the state's soybean crop is in fair or better condition. A Martinsville business owner is considering legal action after he says the city didn't follow through on its promise to revitalize the downtown. Harrison Wagner reports.
An effort to improve building exteriors in downtown Martinsville has proven to be problematic, prompting possible legal action from one building owner involved in the project. David Trout is a commercial property investor who had brick restoration, painting, window replacement, and more done in an attempt to restore his building to its late 1800s architectural roots. He says the work done on his building turned out well, but that it wasn't completed.
There's always some warranty work and touch-up items, which is called a punch list. And there's several things on the punch list that have not been addressed yet and haven't been addressed since June. And I've been given no timeline on when they would be done, and that's all I'm asking.
Ron Stanhouse represents Rediscover Martinsville, which led the project.
You know, there's a degree of control that's given up to the contractor. And the way that whole grant's structured, once they define the aspect of the work to be done, the property owner doesn't have a lot of say in it. And that's really tough to take for a property owner.
Despite some issues, Stanhouse says he considers the project a success. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Harrison Wagner.
The facade project was funded through an Ochre grant through the state. Martinsville plans to apply for another grant when it becomes eligible in 4 years. Well, a new baseball team is coming to Lafayette. Wisconsin-based MKE Sports Entertainment, which also owns the Kokomo Jackrabbits, says the yet-to-be-named club will start play next summer at Loeb Stadium. And Joe Lafayette's mayor says the league has actually been targeting the city for 3 years, so quite some time.
It's interesting to hear Kokomo has a new soccer team, too. A lot of these minor league teams starting to fill the state. Thanks, Lindsay. Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk. South Bend's mayor came out earlier this year as we look ahead to the legislative session and the unavoidable battle over civil protections for LGBT Hoosiers. What role will Pete Buttigieg play? And the Indiana Fever return home tonight for Game 3 of the WNBA Finals. In the best-of-5 series, they're currently tied with Minnesota. Will the game sell out? We'll explain what fans are doing to try and ensure it does. These stories and more right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
Nature takes you places where you've never gone before.
It's watching something that's actually happened.
Nature sure drew me in the story.
Just their power and their grace.
You know, it was just so beautiful to watch them.
The movement and just watching the body and watching the chase. Like this huge, lush, vibrant watercolor.
Tim's.
There was such a shot of underneath watching these elephants swim in this deep water.
I had no idea even they could swim like that.
I saw one monkey pulling on this one monkey's tail, and the monkey like, man, what you doing? What you doing?
It's like the theater of the wild or something.
7 billion trillion animals living on one planet.
It's like more colorful than than you think life can possibly be.
Somewhere between the mystique and the beauty of it is reason enough to sit down and watch.
That's life. And that's nature.
Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg has been blazing the campaign trail as he seeks re-election in Indiana's 4th largest city. He's drawn much acclaim in his first term. In 2013, civic technology website govfresh.com named him Mayor of the Year, tying him with former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg. And last year, the Washington Post called him the most interesting mayor you've never heard of. As Alexander McCall reports, the rising star's largest contribution to Indiana politics could come from his personal life.
When South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg speaks to crowds, he speaks with passion for the city he leads.
I got the best job in the world as the mayor of my hometown.
The 33-year-old Democrat seems unafraid of getting political and blaming his conservative counterparts for believing things he says just don't make sense.
They believe that people get up in the morning and decide who they're going to fall in love with.
Buttigieg was elected at age 29, making him the youngest mayor of a U.S. city with more than 100,000 residents. He's also the first openly LGBT executive official in the Hoosier state and the highest-ranking elected official in the state to come out. In an essay published in June, he said he thought the decision to come out as gay could do some good.
Look, Indiana is a state that is welcoming to all. It's just that our politics hasn't reflected that.
At the time, Indiana was still reeling from a national controversy surrounding the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, a moment that sent state officials into panic, going so far as to hire a public relations firm to repair Indiana's image. Buttigieg characterizes his coming out simply, saying it was just something he had to do.
You know, I want to be evaluated based on the kind of job that I'm doing. Are the potholes getting filled in? Is the trash getting picked up? Is the snow getting plowed? Are our neighborhoods getting better? Is our downtown stronger?
But as advocacy groups like Freedom Indiana gear up for a battle in the State House next year over civil protections for LGBT Hoosiers, they say Buttigieg's decision to live openly is significant. Freedom Indiana campaign manager Chris Paulson.
And I think him doing that will give people someone to look at that they know that is gay, and he does a great job in South Bend leading their town. And I think that brings Hoosiers over to see that just because he's gay doesn't mean he can't do his job or he should be denied housing or service.
Paulson says Buttigieg's coming out creates a personal connection in the fight for civil equality, a sentiment Indiana Democratic Party Chair John Zodi echoes.
And for an elected official to do it, I think helps even more. It sets an example, and I think people look to their elected officials for leadership and measure of security.
But it's Buttigieg's leadership that landed him on the radar of the state Democratic Party. Zodi commends the mayor's accomplishments, saying he's worked smart in a time where local governments are facing budget strains.
The riverfront has undergone some changes. Downtown has undergone some changes, and so when you see those things that a young leader like Mayor Buttigieg is undertaking, all under the constraints of doing more with less, I think we're seeing him as a person who certainly stands out as someone who's solving the problems.
For now, Buttigieg is setting his political sights on winning re-election in South Bend. He's up against Republican candidate Kelly Jones, but he says he's backing Democratic candidates stepping up across the state and country.
What I will say is that we need good candidates stepping forward at every level, from the most obscure, poorly compensated local office there is in the smallest town, all the way up to the White House.
And Zodi says Buttigieg's political career is far from over.
His future, I'm sure he'll tell you, will take care of itself, but he's on his way up.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Alexander McCall.
Indiana House Republicans say it's too early for them to speculate on legislation that might materialize in the 2016 legislative session. But along with the governor and Hoosier business leaders, Republican legislators have been working behind closed doors to develop their own proposal for LGBT civil rights. Indications are that they're not close to a solution. Meanwhile, Senate Democratic leader Tim Linnane earlier this week unveiled a plan to enshrine gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender non-discrimination language in the state civil rights statute. Claire McInerney has more on that story.
The Senate Democrats' proposal would add the words sexual orientation and gender identity to the state civil rights law. The bill would prohibit discrimination in housing, employment, and public accommodations. However, it would retain existing exemptions for certain small businesses and religious organizations. Lannon says doing so would fulfill a fundamental Hoosier value that all people deserve equal protection under the law. Lannon's caucus only makes up 10 members out of 50 in the Senate, but he says their proposal is the best way to ensure civil rights protections.
There's no room for shortcuts or half measures or exceptions. We need to clearly, simply, but powerfully state that all individuals are protected underneath our Indiana Civil Rights Act.
Lannon also acknowledged that this proposal is meant to move the state forward and not create political battles on the State House floor.
The divisiveness of this occurs when people are not respectful towards each other's positions on this. And I think we can have a respectful debate about this issue. And I know that from our perspective, that's how we intend to proceed. We don't intend for this to be divisive.
Lannon says his proposal would help the state repair its reputation from the damage it suffered after the passage of the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, or RFRA. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Claire McInerney.
As you know by now, the Hoosiers suffered a defeat at the hands of Ohio State last weekend. The game came down to the last play after the Hoosiers lost their starting quarterback and running back to injuries. The Hoosiers are on the road this weekend, taking on Penn State at noon. And we would be remiss not to mention another big game this weekend. The Indiana Fever play Game 3 of the finals tonight against the Minnesota Lynx. The series is tied at a game apiece. Fans lined up at Bankers Life Fieldhouse earlier this week to try and nab a free ticket. To try and ensure a sellout crowd for tonight's game, the Pacers' Frank Vogel Paul George, George Hill, C.J. Miles, and former Fever head coach Lynn Dunn purchased 2,300 tickets and distributed them free to fans.
We love the Fevers here. We adore those the ladies. They really work hard. They have a good work ethic.
Game 4 is Sunday. It's also in Indianapolis, and Mayor Greg Ballard declared today Fever Friday in honor of the team. People are wearing red to show the ladies their support. Before we say goodbye, we have a programming note for you and an opportunity for you to submit questions for our upcoming Bloomington mayoral debate. A new mayor will take office in Bloomington next year. It will be either Democrat John Hamilton or Republican John Turnbull. Now, we're hosting a live debate between the candidates on October 26th, and we want to hear from you. So if you have a question for the candidates, send it in now to news@indianapublicmedia.org. You can also tweet us at the WTIU News Team by using the hashtag BTownElects or call to submit your questions. That's the end of this program, but our work continues as we cover the news online at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by the following. IU Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, working to improve cybersecurity and provide policy guidance through partnerships with industry, government, and academia.
Smithville Fiber, the Gigacity Company, fiber internet, HD, and digital IPTV in southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com.
And by WTIU members. Thank you.